Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever the fuck you might be. Hello, greetings, and blessings. My name is Reverend Phoenix,
And I'm Reverend Alyssa.
and we're doing some Friday chat time as we do.
Yeah.
Um, how have you been since last week? You were here last week, right? What did we talk? Yeah, we talked
I
about the Hierophant, and
was I here last week or the
yeah,
week before? I don't remember.
I think you were here last week.
Good.
Um, we talked about the Hierophant and the
We did.
Emperor, and yeah. Well, I did.
We did. We talked about the cards.
How you been?
Good. How about you?
I've been hanging in there, living the dream. Definitely. I've been working more on the rites of passage book, and another article that I want to get out and about. So I've seen some movement on both of those this week, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. It's fun helping you with that.
Where I do have some trainings coming up that I'm going to be facilitating, and of course, the planning for the 2025 regional lustration is well underway. So, like, I have all that going on right now.
A lot.
Yeah, yeah. We do what we can, though. Any,
Nice.
any highlights from the week for you?
Um, got some work done. Got work done with you. That's nice. It's a good week.
Word.
Busy.
Yeah, and so as the viewers start to roll in, we just want to remind y'all that you can interact with us live through the chat function of whatever platform you are using. And I have the chat right now, so if y'all have questions or if you have comments or things that you would like to address that's on topic, feel free to put that in the chat and we will do our best to accommodate.
Definitely.
The thing that we're talking about today is something that I consider to be your direct wheelhouse.
It is
And
that.
we consider to be my shadow wheelhouse.
Definitely.
Yeah. Um, it didn't occur to me until like literally right now talking to you that the topic that we're going to talk about like falls directly under the title of artificer.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So what
Absolutely. It's the main, I would say the main job of an artificer other than ritual robes.
so talk about it.
Yeah, so we haven't even told them what we're talking about. We were thinking about, we wanted to talk about uh, crafting your own ritual tools, or in general, finding handcrafted ritual tools or being gifted handcrafted ritual tools,
Mm-hmm,
um, and how special that is.
mm-hmm,
So I'm head of the Order of Artificers. The Order of Artificers is a Corellian order. One of the oldest Corellian orders. Was originally founded by Reverend Dragonfly. I took it over in 2010, maybe even earlier than that. I think it was 2010. And it's an order for anyone in the tradition that uh, crafts or makes ritual items of any kind, or ritual robes. And we have a lot of just generally crafty people that can do those things, but don't necessarily do it all the time. Um, so if that interests you, feel free to reach out, or find us on Facebook under Corellian Order of Artificers. It's a fun space, and we like comparing things. But um, what do you how do you what's your opinion on making your own ritual tools or handmade ritual tools in general?
yeah. I believe strongly in the power that is invested into handmade ritual tools or items, even gifts. So like even something that might not be used on an altar or for like a spiritual purpose, like even a handmade Jack in the Box or a handmade car or a handmade card, all of it I find and believe is imbued with the energy that captures the nature in which like the the item was like created or forged and given.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so when you give someone something that you have made from your hands in good nature, you are giving a phenomenal blessing, especially if it's a tool. Because humans, like, if it's one thing that we can do, it's we can use the fuck out of some tools.
Definitely.
So that's really where that's the core concept of how I feel about handmade items. Handmade ritual tools that are made, like, you have a lot of freedom if you do it yourself, or if you commission it, you have a lot of freedom to turn it into exactly what it is that you want or you envision.
Hmm.
You can, if you are forging your own athame, you can pick your own metal, and you can best to be sure that when you are forging that metal, your sweat is going to go into it, and probably some
Sometimes
tears
blood.
too.
Sometimes blood.
And we know about the blood
We're
when you're
not gonna lie.
sewing, or
Sometimes blood.
like, it's a thing.
Um,
All of
I
those
also,
things carry energy and power.
that's where I was going with it. So all of those things carry energy and power. Hello from Australia. I have a staff and door protection carving I made in the 1980s, which worked quite well for me. Hi, Kayleen. That's awesome. I love that. Um, uh, as Phoenix was saying, so that's where I was going with that. The energy. When you are making ritual items, ritual tools, things to be used in ritual, you have an opportunity to not only bless the materials you're using and imbue those with energy, but to imbue the finished work with the energy that you intend that item to have or be used for. Um, and as you said, just naturally working on it is going to imbue it with your own energy and the things that you're thinking about while doing it. Um, I made a joke in a crafting group, a non-pagan crafting group. I made a joke a few weeks ago, that someone was saying, someone asked a question that they had to knit a blanket that they had already agreed to make for someone that they now disliked. And how were they going to do it, because every time they sat down to knit this blanket, all they could think about was how much they hated that person. And I said that my recommendation was that unless you actually wanted to give this person something that would bring them bad luck or bad energy, that you should probably not knit that blanket.
I
Now,
agree.
if you absolutely hate that person and want to bring that negativity into their life, by all means knit the blanket and knit it vengefully. I don't know.
Mhm.
But we have the opportunity to instill that energy into the things that we make, and it makes them special. Um, and it makes them extra charged, in my opinion, to their purpose.
And so, in the example of a blanket, you can charge and bless your needles if you are knitting
Absolutely do
and
that.
crocheting. You can charge and bless each of the threads that you are going to use,
Absolutely do
the
it.
scissors that you are going to use to cut the
Absolutely do it.
thread. And in the case of like vengeance work, like maybe one of the yarns represents their connection to you. And as you cut the final thread in the blanket, you're cutting their final connection to you. And maybe a different color thread represents like the heartache that they gave to you. And so as you knit, you were talking about heartache, you were singing songs about heartache, and you were putting that in to the blanket. And as you cut the last thread on that yarn, you are cutting the connection to those bad, painful feelings. You have now externalized them and put them in the blanket. Send it back to that bitch. Who cares?
I often, I as a stitch witch do magic while I sew, especially when I'm sewing things that I know are going to be used for ritual items. Um, so I tend to sew, especially into sigils. I tend to sew blessings. I tend to sew things, especially if it's being made for the head of a group, things that will give them good leadership, clear insight, um, all of those, many blessings. And I'll do it as I stitch, and I'll do it when it's finished between my hands. Um, if you get something from me, it has energy.
Yeah, it does. You made my banner, and you made my third degree tabard. And is there something else? Oh, you made all four of the quarter tabards.
I did.
Um, I watched you redo some of those.
I don't know what
Yeah.
was with me when I made those.
Um,
When I made those for Phoenix, I kept doing the sigils upside down or the wrong sigil on the wrong tabard. Like I had like a fire sigil on a water tabard or something ridiculous like that. And then nobody noticed. Like literally I showed it to people. I sewed the thing. Nobody noticed. The first time I like looked at it after it was finished, I was like, and that is upside down. I remember in the middle, I think we were on the phone and I just, without saying a word, was just like, and started like ripping stitches. And you were like, what are you doing? And I was like, look at it. Look at it.
I remember that FaceTime.
And I kept doing it, which was the funny thing. I did it on all of them, I think, maybe except for one.
I think you got fire correct and you got water correct. I think that it was air and earth that had to be flopped.
Yeah, I think so. I kept doing them all upright.
Kayleen, you bring up a great point about your staff. When you do craft your own things, you do get to personalize them to a very specific degree. So your staff is got the sigils that are measured directly at the location of your chakras.
Hmm.
So basically, your staff is kind of a sympathetic thing that represents you.
Hmm.
What do we call those? A fetish. Your staff is a fetish that represents you in that kind of way. And then a bit of blood from chisel accidents. That's exactly how that stuff gets blessed. Like
Hmm.
you could, I guess, prick your finger on the final product that might put your blood on there. But when you're making it by hand, like chances are the blood offerings have been made throughout the process, and you don't have to do another one at the end of the day. That is a phenomenal point,
Yeah,
Caitlin.
it is highly likely that anybody who has received something sewn from me has my blood.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, I do things to sever those connections magically. So don't try it.
Word. All right, let's go ahead and check in with our first sponsor real quick. That's gonna be Equinox. Equinox. Thank you, Equinox, for your sponsorship. Love you for it. Um, oh, okay. Reverend Alyssa has prepared to show us a little treat. But while we wait for her to get back on over here, I want to show y'all examples of your camera fell too, by the way. I want
That's
to show
funny.
y'all examples of this right here. These are very simple runes that were made by hand using clay. They were given to me by Elder Gretchen Short here in Buffalo, New York. But when you are making things like this by hand, you have control over the process. So whether or not you heat things in
Hmm.
fire that are charged by gods, or if you let things heat up by the power of the sun, if you work by moonlight, if you work when a certain planetary hour is underway, you have control over all of that.
Very true.
Um, Alyssa tagged me or pegged me as an artificer, and I'm like, no, 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 no. Reason being, I do not at all. No, it is very rare that I appreciate a finished product that I have created, and a lot of people go, many artists are like that, and I'm like, yeah, artists are like that, but artificers are not like that.
Yes, we are.
artificers have faith in the magic that produces their final result, in my opinion.
That's true.
Artificers have like this perfect love and perfect trust relationship with their creation, with faith in knowing that this is what divinity wanted them to manifest through their skills. Like I look at the stuff that I create and I'm like, oh, the goddess will shit on this immediately. Let me put this somewhere now. Um, and that is despite like other people being like, nope, your talisman was great. Nope, like this thing that you made was very pretty. It was a great addition to the altar. All of that jazz. So I do not consider myself like a crafty kind of person. I'll do it to participate and help build community and all that jazz. But that's why I have come to be known as the Shadow Artificer, and I have the most unique Artificer patch of all of those creative divinities.
You do.
What you got for us over there?
This is Regina.
That is Regina.
I made her.
Regina's a bad bitch.
That bitch. Regina took many hours of work. She carved with a Dremel tool, sanded, uh, stained and sealed. Not really stained. It was um, just like an enhancer, except for the black parts. Obviously, that's stained. This is garnets. She's got 3 other bands of those going down. She's got a pentacle right there, which was actually an accident from Nadia. She broke one of my bowls while she was up here, like right before I started this, and I, as a crafter, I keep stuff that I think that I can craft with. So I kept the pentacle off it and threw away the broken glass. And when I was making Regina, I was like, I bet the curve on that from the bowl is going to fit pretty nicely on this. And it did. And then this part is actually glued onto the bottom part. And then the skull is glued onto that. And there's crystals pretty much all at the back. And this is mostly quartz and garnet.
Mm-hmm. Hello, Fernanda from Brazil.
But she was for sure a labor of love. Some things I would have done differently with her in retrospect, probably. But I'm happy with her. I'm happy with how she came out. I love her dearly. I just grabbed some other handmade things by me. So this is my ever working on Wittan collar, which is half finished on my robes for a few years, and we're working on the end parts. But Stitch Magic, very strong way to customize, personalize your robes, your stoles. This wand, this was made for me by Lady Brianna, who is one of our notables on the Wittan Council. Has been around forever, and I wish I saw her more. She's retired now, but her energy is very potent. And I don't believe she makes these anymore unless she does it locally now. I believe she lives in Idaho or Iowa or one of those. But I like having it because I feel like it connects me to her energy and to the tradition, just to have something that was made by another member of the tradition. And I have many items like it. I have a lot of things that have been made by Lord Don. I have a couple of things that were made by Lady Bitterwind. And I think all of those are energetic connections as well that make items that are unique.
Mm-hmm. And you pointed out like having handmade items from other family members, people who have crossed over into the realm of the ancestors, maybe. having stuff that they've made with their own hands and they have put energy in does function to help us maintain a connection with them.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
including stuff that Lady Bitterwind made in a ritual works to elevate Lady Bitterwind and elevate her work as on her side of the veil. But
Mm,
that's the same thing, even if you have a gift from someone who is still alive. Utilizing it, you elevate them. Talking about where you got your wands from elevates them and gives them some much needed attention.
definitely. In our
And so,
last,
like, go
I
ahead.
I also want to point out that if you are not especially crafty, that doesn't matter. There's always a way to do things. There's always a way to get inspiration. It's easy to figure it out, even if you don't do it the right way. You can learn. So I just want to preface with that. But I also am a fan of embellishing pre-made items. So this is my sword, which is obviously, not something that I made, but I did that to make it mine, to give energy to it, to give it a connection. So that's another way that we can add energy to ritual tools, and things that we use is just by customizing them for us, even if they weren't made by us or were manufactured.
Mhm. And with that being said, let's go ahead and check back in oh, with our last sponsor.
Ready to unlock the secrets of the universe? Join me, Reverend Don Lewis, for my metaphysical and magic auctions at Gaia Thrift at whatnot.com. Discover fascinating artifacts, mystical crystals, and rare and unusual books that could change your life. Don't miss this chance to bring a little magic into your world. Reverend Don's Metaphysical and Magic Auctions, where the extraordinary can become yours.
Thank you, Uncle, for sponsoring. Um, I did grab something real quick. Um, the thing that I'm about to show y'all, Lady Alyssa has seen this several times before, and she appreciates it. And it might have been one of the things that like made her convinced that I should at the very least be artificer adjacent. Do you know what it is, Alyssa?
I could guess. Let's see. Yes, that's what I thought. That's gonna be your painting.
So this I made several years ago, and you can tell how long ago I made it by the way that it's starting to discolor and by the various candle changes that have been made to it over time. I originally made this to help me focus and connect with the Corellian Nexus. And I made it for that purpose probably like far before I should have been connecting with the Corellian Nexus. Like, I really think I made this as a first degree.
Yeah,
Um, but this is an example of something else that you could do, a tool that you could make. You could put your sigils on canvas, or you can create your sigils in such a way and charge them and hang them up all around your house as artwork. And when you have people come over, like, wow, these paintings are phenomenal. But little do they know, like, they're wards to keep negative people out. And like, you realize that everyone who comments nicely on your artwork are like the positive people who are meant to be around you, and the people who are like confused about it or made to feel uncomfortable about it are not meant to be in your home. So definitely consider artificing as a way of making your magic like very pretty, very practical, and like all around you in very many ways.
absolutely.
What else you got to say about that?
I also think that crafting and making magical tools also connects us to our ancestors, because they, for the most part, made and crafted all of those things. While we are blessed now to live in a world where we can get god and goddess statues, and we can buy pre-made incense and tinctures and oils and all of those things, and we can buy swords, and we can buy athames and wands and everything. There's something special about also taking the time to learn how to make those things yourself. And I often see it as a ritual in itself to do those things of connection to the ancestors or to a specific divinity. If you happen to be tied to a crafting deity, also. Simple yet feral is the key. Pro Moon
Yeah.
Dancer. I love that.
Yes. Thank you so much, Moon Dancer. That's absolutely key.
That's fantastic. Yes, exactly. Um, you know, but I think that ultimately that's the most special benefit of learning this is you're learning skills on how to do those things on your own, and you can pass those skills down to younger members of your community, younger members of your temples, to your own children, and it's its own way of honoring the beloved dead.
Mm-hmm. And we are all about that as Corellians
Yeah.
every day.
Absolutely.
And so we are basically out of time for today. Thank you to everyone who joined us, and thank you to everyone who said hello and provided feedback in the chat. We will be back next Friday for another Friday with the First Priesthood. I wish you all very many blessings, happy, healthy, safe week and weekend,
Yep.
and all good things.
Blessed be.
Blessed be.